Today we've got a fun one. This has been one of our most highly requested videos yet. A lot of people are very curious about the Pansh Kite. It's a fraction of the price of other foil kites, but it does have its own reputation. So we were curious and we bought an Aurora 3 for about 370 USD or 440 Canadian, but we want to see how it compares to a much more expensive kite. So today we're going to be comparing back to back with the Soul 10 meter. Before we dive into the review, just a couple things to set straight. We did buy this kite with our own money, and full disclosure, we are Flysurfer ambassadors, which is why we invite our friends to give their unbiased opinions for these videos. Also, we did pay full price for the Pansh Kite, which honestly wasn't a whole lot.
I was the first one out of the group to fly this 10-meter Pansh kite. What is it? The Aurora 3. My first impression of this kite, you know what? It's a nice kite for, you know, the cost of it.
The kite looks okay, but it has two pros. One, it pulls very well when it flies through the wind, when you go fast. And the other pro is price. The rest of that is just cons. So it's very difficult to start. It's definitely not for beginners. And I would never spend money for such kite. So if you have extra $300, go and buy used TV. Not this kite.
The Pansh Aurora 3 comes in 8 sizes and has 31 cells compared to 41 cells on the Soul. The build quality is decent, but the fabric is heavy and the bridles are thick. However, there's an option to order the kite in ultralight cloth, which comes with thinner bridles for an extra $100 USD. The kite comes with a 5th line, which we removed for the test, and flew the kite with the stock settings. We used a Flysurfer bar and checked that the lines were even for the test. Both the Aurora 3 and Soul were 10 meters in size, and the wind speed was around the high teens.
So my first impression of the Pansh Aurora 3 10 meter was that it was not nearly as powerful as the Soul 10 meter. Even just getting out in the chop, it was much easier on the Soul compared to the Pansh Kite.
The Pansh Kite does not have very much power. I went out here, I could barely get up on it. It might just be my weight and my fat ass, but I just couldn't drag me out of the water. The Soul, I actually managed to get up, and I was kiting, I was jumping, I was having a really good time. Yuri had to wave at me to come in because I didn't want to come in.
Comparing back to back, Flysurfer is way more powerful, way more stable, way easier to start riding on a stable kite rather than this one.
First impression was, it was okay, it held its shape. Compared to the Flysurfer Soul 10, I mean, there's no comparison. Pansh had half the power of the Flysurfer Soul 10.
It seemed like it had almost like dead zones. It had power and then it just kind of sputtered a bit and then it would go again.
I was looking at the bridles when I fully powered. They seemed to be slack.
When I looked at the way it was flying, it looked to me like there was almost a deformation in the overall shape of it.
I found with the Soul that the power was consistent. It was really a much smoother ride. With the Pansh, I was constantly feeling a very jerky ride, and it wasn't so much the conditions as the wind was pretty steady today.
The Flysurfer, I found more of a smoother ride and better control.
Turning was slightly slower. I mean, to be honest, it was playful because it was less bar pressure than the Soul, so you could have a little more fun, but it was lacking the power. So yeah, it's kind of like, eh.
Pansh was really amazingly stable in the sky, especially at 12. It turned reasonably quickly, I think.
In terms of the turning speed, I found that the Soul was just really quick to turn, whereas the Pansh was definitely slower. Also, I found if I dove the Pansh Kite too far down, the kite would completely lose its shape. Sometimes the wingtip would collapse a bit. Sometimes the whole kite would just jellyfish a little bit.
I tried to do a loop transition. It went okay, but the one corner of the kite was folded during the transition, so again, another con.
It turns really fast. I like it. I really do.
I found with jumping in particular, with the Soul, it's just very easy to direct the kite. It's very intuitive. You land very softly. With the Pansh, oftentimes I'd redirect the kite, but it just wasn't where I needed it to be, and then I would fall right on my butt when I was landing. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun. That being said, it wasn't awful. Definitely rideable, the Pansh Aurora III.
Would you recommend the Pansh Kite to a beginner or someone new to foils?
Good question. I think it would be a reasonable kite as long as they realize that they need a bit more wind to get up on it than the Flysurfer.
As far as $300 goes, it's a cheap throwaway kite if you want to do that. But if you're a newbie, I'd be more concerned about the quality of the lines. If one snaps, what do you do?
Would I recommend this to a beginner? No, probably not, because I think they'll struggle a lot because there is no power. It's like a lot of beginners, I think they feel like they should go out in light wind, but it's actually not a good idea. It's actually more work for them. So yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
It was, you know, for $300 for an experienced guy, if you want a cheap kite, and like if you want to get a 7-meter kite for high winds that you're only going to use a few times a year, for $300, it'll do the job for you.
Definitely I wouldn't recommend this kite, either for beginners or advanced riders. Definitely I would recommend Flysurfer.
Could be value to someone who wants to maybe experiment a little bit, maybe fine-tune this kite. I mean, $300 versus, let's call it $20,000 or $2,000 with a Soul. And I think maybe for a foiler they might be interested because it kind of sat back.
I actually feel quite confident out there with the kite. I don't feel scared, so I would definitely, for somebody who wants to get into foil kites and wants an introductory kite, I'd recommend this kite, the Pansh.
Definitely expensive kite are more money well spent, because this kite is very difficult to call it a kite.
Would I trade my Soul for it? No way. But if I was on an extremely limited budget, it's definitely worthwhile to consider.
I'm sure that it would be good for someone, but not me.
Would I buy it for myself? Not at this stage, no. I have my own kite quiver, so I'm good, yeah.
I actually bought this kite here from Yuri Lori for my daughter's snow kiting, actually. Look, for the price, it's not bad. You know, and for snow kiting, I think it will be great.
All right, there you have it. That's our review of the Pansh Aurora III compared to the Soul 2 10-meter. We're curious though, what do you think about the Pansh kite? Would you want to try one? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.